Sagittarius, the woman who tried to destroy you has fallen, but the universe is about to reward you. Sagittarius, the fact that you're here right now isn't a coincidence. There's something ancient inside you that recognizes this moment, even if your mind doesn't fully grasp it yet. Before anything is spoken, before any prophecy unfolds, I want to gently invite you to pause, breathe, and feel. Not the kind of breath we take on autopilot, but the kind that travels down into the places we don't often visit. The cracked corners, the held-back tears, the fire you've kept burning beneath silence. You've walked long roads that no one saw. You've carried burdens while still being the light in someone else's tunnel. And now the universe wants to speak to you. Because something has shifted. Something that once drained your spirit, perhaps even tried to break it, has fallen away. A chapter has closed, not with a bang but with a quiet clarity. And what comes next, Sagittarius, is not just relief. It's reward. A soul reward. You didn't arrive here by accident. Your spirit, wild and ancient and vast like the sky itself, led you to this threshold. And if something in your heart feels stirred, if a small ember of yes flickers, then stay with me. This is more than just a story about someone who tried to diminish your light. This is about your return. To power. To truth. To the unshakable fire within you that not even betrayal could put out. If at any point this speaks to your soul, leave a whisper in the comments. A word. A symbol. A sentence. Something honest. Something real. And if you know someone whose spirit might need this warmth, share it with them. Not as content but as medicine. Subscribe if this feels like home, because it is. Gate 1, Sagittarius. Your path was never meant to be ordinary. Sagittarius, let's be honest. This world was never built to contain you. You were born with a compass inside your chest and fire in your veins. You came here to explore, to disrupt, to challenge, to expand. And yet, somehow along the way, someone tried to convince you that freedom was dangerous. That ambition was selfish. That your gifts should be toned down. You might not have noticed it at first. It wasn't a loud betrayal. It was subtle. Quiet disapproval. A side comment. A withheld opportunity. Someone close, someone who couldn't handle your light, began to feed you doubt dressed up as concern. They weren't your enemy, but they were afraid. Afraid of what you could become if you ever stopped apologizing. And for a while maybe you did shrink. You took the job that paid the bills but dulled your fire. You showed up to meetings, not missions. You made yourself digestible, practical, predictable. But Sagittarius, your soul was not made for cubicles and cautious steps. You weren't sent here to be average. What if I told you that the delays in your career, the financial detours, the missed chances weren't failures? What if they were protection? There was someone, perhaps a mentor, a boss, a parent, or even a so-called friend who tried to reroute your path. Not always out of malice. Sometimes just because your expansiveness triggered their limitations. You kept wondering, why am I stuck? But the truth is, you were never stuck. You were being rerouted around the sabotage. And the person who once held power over your growth, they've now been removed by their own karma, by your soul's silent boundaries, by the shifting universe that always watches what's hidden. The woman who tried to dim you, whether she was literal or symbolic, is no longer in control. The grip has loosened. The fog is lifting. You may have felt her shadow in your finances. Money that slipped through your fingers, projects that never launched, recognition that was delayed. But that was never a reflection of your worth. It was spiritual interference. Now it's being cleared. You're stepping into a season of sovereignty. And it won't look like a windfall from the sky. It will look like this: waking up with an idea and finally trusting it enough to act. Saying no to what pays but drains you. Taking a risk even if no one claps. Walking into a room with nothing to prove, and still being unforgettable. One Sagittarius woman I once worked with had dreams of starting a healing retreat. For years she postponed it because a superior kept telling her, "You're not ready. Wait your turn." That voice echoed until it became her own. But the day she stopped waiting for permission, and listened to her soul instead, was the day everything changed. Within 6 months, her retreat was fully booked. Not because of luck, because she finally reclaimed her path. Sagittarius, your abundance doesn't come from following the rules. Comes from following your fire. And now that fire is no longer blocked. You were never lost. You were being prepared. This is your green light. Write it down if you need to. I am no longer available for cages. I create wealth by walking my truth. Your journey isn't restarting. It's resuming. And what's waiting for you on the other side of this choice isn't just success. It's alignment. You don't need to fight anymore. Just move forward. The resistance is gone. You are free. Gate 2 Sagittarius. When something ends, something ancient returns. Sagittarius, I know endings haven't always been kind to you. You're the sign of belief, of faraway visions and inner knowing. So when something you believed in deeply fully falls apart, it doesn't just break your plans. It breaks something deeper, your trust in the path itself. There was a goodbye you didn't plan for. A silence that grew too long. A door that closed while your hands were still on the handle. And maybe you tried to hold it all together. Maybe you stayed long after the warmth left. You gave chances, explanations, compromises. But the truth is, Sagittarius, you weren't meant to carry a chapter that had already ended. You were meant to release it. You don't fear change, but you do fear betrayal. And that's what this felt like. Not just a relationship ending or a job falling through, but the quiet betrayal of meaning. Of what once felt sacred suddenly becoming hollow. You've asked yourself, did I misread everything? Was it all for nothing? Why does this ending feel like I failed? But love, the pain you're feeling isn't failure. It's rupture. And rupture is what happens when a soul outgrows the skin it once lived in. That ending was not your fault. It was a point of soul correction. Sagittarius, you were being redirected to power. And sometimes to get there, the old self must fall apart. Think of the centaur, your symbol. Half wild, half wise. It doesn't cling to castles. It gallops when it hears the call. Even if it leaves something beloved behind. The universe didn't strip you bare to punish you. It was clearing the noise so you could finally hear your own signal. The loss was real. The grief is real. And I won't ask you to skip over that. You're allowed to mourn the friendship that faded. The love that ended mid-sentence. The dream that never made it off the ground. But once you've mourned, once the tears dry, not because you're done hurting, but because your soul is ready to begin again, you will see what the ending gave you. Clarity. Strength. Space. A version of yourself who knows her worth. Who doesn't beg to be chosen. Who doesn't apologize for needing freedom. I know you miss the version of you who still believed in that almost story. But the new you? She's magnetic. She's sovereign. She's walking forward not with wounds open, but with truth blazing. You didn't lose love. You lost what couldn't love you fully. You didn't lose your chance. You lost what blocked your real one. Endings are initiations. There is a forest you're being called into now. Not to get lost, but to remember. Remember who you were before someone else's fear tried to shape you. Sagittarius, some chapters don't need to be revisited. They need to be blessed, grieved, and released. And if you need a ritual to let go, let it be this. Place your hand on your heart and say, what left me was never mine to carry. What remains is what I truly need. Then take one step forward. You don't need to run. You just need to mean it. Because what you're walking toward now, it won't break you. It won't shrink you. It will rise to meet you. And this time it stays. Gate 3 Sagittarius. The love that finally sees you. Sagittarius, you've always been looking for something. Not in a desperate way, but in the way a compass looks for north. Your heart has always known that love must be more than a label, more than a routine, more than a place to hide from loneliness. You were never interested in love that just looked good. You craved the kind that feels like home. But for too long, you've walked into rooms where your soul didn't fit. You softened your voice to make someone else stay. You held your light back just enough so they wouldn't feel small next to you. You made yourself understandable, digestible, agreeable. And still they left. Or worse, they stayed but never really saw you. Sagittarius, here's the truth. You were not too much. You were just too real for those still hiding from their own depth. You weren't abandoned. You were being protected from building a life with someone who couldn't hold the full magnitude of your spirit. And now you're entering a chapter where love is no longer based on performance. It's based on presence. You're being aligned with a connection that meets your soul, not your image. The kind of love that doesn't need fixing, doesn't need chasing, doesn't need proof. It arrives quietly, like recognition, like breath, like someone saying, "There you are. I've been looking for you too." But before that love appears in another person, it must rise in you. The sacred kind. The love that says, "I will not betray my fire to keep someone else warm. I will not pretend I'm okay just to be easier to love. I deserve to be met, not managed." And when you live from that truth, the universe listens. You may start meeting people who feel eerily familiar. Souls who remind you of lifetimes ago. Eyes that mirror your own ache and your own hope. That's no coincidence. That's your energy calling home what belongs to it. This isn't about fairy tales. It's about frequency. And Sagittarius, your frequency has changed. You're no longer vibrating with wounds. You're vibrating with wisdom. So the love that's arriving, it's not here to test you. It's here to walk with you. No power games. No shrinking. No masks. Just two souls choosing each other, without needing to be saved. I once knew a Sagittarius man who'd been through 3 heartbreaks, each one teaching him where he abandoned himself. When he finally stopped dating to fix his loneliness and started listening to the loneliness as a teacher, that's when she showed up. She didn't rescue him. She recognized him. And that changed everything. You may be on the brink of that now. Not because you begged for it, but because you became it. Sagittarius, love that finds you in this season of your life will not pull you off your path. It will walk beside it. It will not fear your fire. It will feed it. And when it arrives through a whisper, a message, a glance, a moment, you will know. Because for once, you won't feel like you need to leave part of yourself outside the door just to be held. You will be fully seen. And fully safe. Write this somewhere sacred if it resonates. I am no longer chasing love. I am remembering it. I am living it. I am ready to receive it whole. Because the truth is, Sagittarius, you were never hard to love. You were just waiting for someone whose soul could speak your language. And that language, it's rising now. In you. Around you. Toward you. Stay open. Because love, real, raw, timeless love is no longer a question. It's an answer. Conclusion, Sagittarius. This time you're not coming full circle, you're breaking through. Sagittarius, you didn't just survive. You remembered. You remembered who you are beyond the titles, beyond the heartbreaks, beyond the masks you once wore to be enough. You remembered that your spirit is not here to fit in. It's here to expand. And every closed door, every goodbye, every detour, it was all guiding you back to that truth. You have always carried the map within you. But only now, after the storms, after the shedding, after the deep soul pauses, you finally trust it. And this moment, this is not a return to who you were. It's the arrival of who you were meant to become. No more waiting for permission. No more apologizing for your light. No more dimming your vision to match someone else's fear. Now you walk forward as you are. Free, fiery, and unshakably real. And the rewards that come won't be loud. They'll be soulful. A message arriving right on time. A path opening where once there was only fog. A presence that makes you feel finally completely understood. Sagittarius, you're not starting over. You're ascending. And every part of your past that felt too heavy, it's falling away now like ash after the phoenix rises. If this journey stirred something inside you, leave a word, a line, a truth in the comments. Let this be your soul speaking, not to be seen but to be felt. And if you know someone else who's walking their way back to light, share this with them. You never know whose miracle your voice might unlock. Subscribe if this message felt like a mirror, if it echoed something ancient inside you, because this isn't just a reading, it's a remembering, and it's only just begun.